So here we are. We're at the end of a Saturday. NAMM is officially over, and I'm sitting here with Lid Shaw and Chris Selim, of course. So we're going to just talk a little bit about NAMM and what we experienced, and gear you saw that you like, experiences you had. So Chris, why don't you start off since you're holding the mic, and let's talk about what happened.
What happened?
What happened, Chris?
What happened, Chris? You want to know
what the hell happened, Chris?
Honestly, in one way, it was one of my best NAMM ever, and that was for meeting all of you and all of the friends, our community as creators. I think we had the chance to gather more than once, which was awesome. Even tonight was great.
Yeah.
And breakfast this morning and all that stuff, So we actually, I think we all wanted to make sure we met at least once a day and stuff, So that was quite nice, and it was a lot of us also.
Yeah.
And that was great. So that was my favorite part of NAMM. So I would come back any day only for this part, So it goes above all the gear, all the new stuff, all those toys, that we saw all weekend. And when it comes to these stories and all, the new gear and stuff, I don't know if there's something that blew me away. A lot of new versions of X and stuff like that, which are, well done and appreciated and all that stuff, but nothing that blew me away. The one thing that I'm going to have to point out was the Sound Toys new reverb that they are working on. They're working to release this one soon. It's not out yet, but it's actually a very nice reverb, very different also. So I can't go into details because that we explained it when I chatted with the Sound Toys guy. It looks so complicated, just to understand what was going on under the hood.
Right. Is there a sequencer in it or something?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's kind of weird the way it works. But like for me, what was important was how it sounded when I listened to it. It was like a guitar player and a keyboard player playing throughout that reverb and stuff. It was like, wow, okay, there's something there. It has more of an artistic side of it, which I kind of liked.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask Liz.
I like this fuzzy mic, man.
You like the fuzzy mic? I only get the fuzziest of mics. What did you see that was really interesting?
Well, I mean, NAMM itself was interesting to me, and definitely in the connecting with all the people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I particularly enjoyed getting to know some of the people who were working for the different companies making different, manufacturing different products that I now have a little bit of more of a close connection with, and reconnecting with them. People would stop me in between booths and say hello. There would be people I had met in the past, who maybe we didn't reconnect yet to book an interview with, who would perhaps come up and say hi and reconnect. So that was great. And then there were a lot of opportunities this time around where I got to meet people who just came up and said that they'd been listening to the podcast, and they just wanted to say hi. They might recognize me. Of course, I'm wearing my shirt the whole time just so I'm easy to spot. But connecting with fans of the show was like a huge. It was a huge win for me. It just felt so rewarding, But to the point of like, what did I see at the show too, and the products? There were definitely some super cool things I saw. So, kind of in order of some of the places I stopped by. I remember going by the Grace Design booth with Michael, and Eben, and Matt,
and me.
Yeah, and they had a new interface, the M701, that looked really amazing.
Yeah,
64. I/O plus a whole bunch of other stuff built in right into the backplate. Options like AES digital in and out, and SPDIF, Toslink, I think maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, and there
kind of stuff.
There was a nice interface available through a browser.
That's right. Yeah. Plus it interfaces through the computer, so you can see all your levels, and you can actually set levels that way. And then you could configure it however you wanted. So like sort of one box could potentially, replace multiple interfaces that are in my studio, and it'll all interface with my Pro Tools HDX, which would be really awesome. And to that point, now for a year or two, I've had the experience of really getting to know Grace Design and their products. And I've had the 201 in my studio, the M201, and then the M108. And both of those just blow me away when I hear how they sound. So that was really cool for me. I mean, I don't need to be stuck on that too much, but by using some of their products, I had that experience where I was like, oh, I can take the exact same sound, the exact same signal, plug it into a different input into my Pro Tools, and it sounds totally different coming out of the speakers. Like, I didn't realize that I had that much of a quality signal. And that's what hearing stuff through the Grace Design gives me.
Well, yeah, and I have two M108s, and of course I use the 908 Atmos controller. They make great stuff, and it was my opportunity to see in person the working class audio edition of the M900 headphone amp, because our friend Chaz brought his that he had bought to the show because he was showing it. He was doing.
The one that I saw of yours was the one that Chaz brought with him?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
Right. He brought his with him because he was showing off the new Corniff Audio plugin along with Chad Blake over at the Corniff Audio booth, and he needed a second, or he needed a headphone situation with his laptop, so he brought, the collab that I did with him.
Now, is this headphone amp, is it like a new thing with Grace, or?
No, it's an older headphone amp that they've been doing for a while. But it was, in fact, I think it was Eben's idea. He was like, hey, why don't we laser engrave, 10 of them with your logo?
That's cool.
Which is super cool.
This headphone amp looks very, very neat.
Oh, it's
and I can't wait to try it.
I can't wait for you to check it out, because it's a great headphone amp.
I love the fact that it's small, it's portable.
Yeah.
It's self-powered, USB powered. Yeah. If you want to.
Yeah.
I'd go so far as to say it looks nifty even.
It does look nifty. Yeah. So, I mean.
And your logo on top of that.
Oh, and that looks.
Come on.
And then you flip it over. So then you flip over the headphone amp box. And you're like, look, underneath, and there's Matt's signature.
I know. Isn't that nuts? It's so bizarre to see that.
That's the version I want.
I'm like, did you put your shopping list on the back of your head? What is that?
It's a good thing I didn't send him the list of what to get at Trader Joe's.
Right. You were bringing up Corniff Audio, and the plugin,
the new Shure Level Lock plugin that was developed in conjunction with Shure and Chad Blake. And
you're just bringing it in, Chris. We'll just be like this.
Yeah, just bring it in.
I tried this plugin with Chaz.
I didn't get a chance to actually hear it, but I'll listen to it when I get home.
Nice saturation,
tomorrow.
I like it.
Well, I also want to point out that I got, I've been hearing about Audioscape from former WCA guest Steve Shady for a long time, and it's it's going in one ear and out the other. It's just like, oh, okay, gear, blah blah blah. But this trip, I got a chance to actually go and meet Chris, the owner, who's a stellar dude, and I love what they're doing. They seem to be the new kids on the block, even though they're not that new, but newish kids on the block who are making what everybody seems to be digging, which is, I know that they're doing recreations of the classics, all the 1176s, LE2A, State Level, Pultec, etc. But the way they're doing it, as opposed to some others, is they build it in Florida, in Daytona. I think they have 40 people working for them. And it's just, it's very working class to me, and very much up my alley in terms of aesthetic. And everything seems to be built and sourced within the U.S. for the most part, that I can tell, and from what Chris told me. And then you can get these distressed looking versions where they take the plates, I guess, and they'll send them down to this dude over in Arizona. And I think his last name is Train, and so they call him Trainwrecked. And it just looks like they've been through many years of use and abuse, and they just look incredible.
It does look pretty nice.
I know it's like pieces of art,
yeah.
honestly. The way the way it's done. You know, they do the patina and they do all that stuff. And
Yeah, their stuff has always looked really amazing. And I've gone. You know, they usually have a great display at NAMM, and I've gone up and just like listened to. You know, they'll have a great example like vocal or something coming through, and you can flip through different compressors and try dialing stuff in, and it always sounded great to me.
yeah, and everybody I talk to always says, "Oh yeah, Audioscape stuff
Yeah.
sounds amazing."
I stopped by there too, and I was chatting with. I met with Ryan, who I think is.
I think he does the metal work.
Yeah, I think he's been there for a long time too.
Yeah, the guy with the beard and the cane.
Yeah, and he's got the cane. Yeah, and he's a funny dude. He's a really funny dude. We were cracking all these jokes about shake cane at sky like at clouds.
like very Simpsons.
Well, and one of the things he pointed out is that where they are, because they're in Daytona Beach in that area, they're right near Cape Canaveral, and so they're like the rocket launching will like shake the building occasionally when they're trying to do stuff, and so it gets a good cane shake here and then. But they also love it, you know, seeing the rockets take off.
Did you guys get a chance to see Sylvia's producer hangout booth?
No.
Okay.
I walked by it many times. It looked amazing.
Same here.
Great,
Yeah,
great.
Never stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was constantly stuff going on, and I caught glimpses of Chad doing some stuff with Bob Clearmountain, and of
So
course
Jack Joseph Puig up there.
Oh, I didn't see him.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Cool.
So for the audience, we got here early. We got here on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So NAMM wasn't open, so we ended up going to these like what was it? The YouTube and the Instagram things, the social media thing presentations at the
It's all about the
Hilton.
carousel.
It's all about the carousel on Instagram. I did that on a few of my posts just because I was like, I need to try that. But those were cool. And that's one thing for people to consider is that when they come here, I mean, not only is it overwhelming, there's so much to see, but there's all these presentations going on. So you almost need to really pay attention to find out like what's going on, what's important to me. Do I need to make a list of what I need to go see? Like I had Sylvia's thing on my calendar
Right.
to go stop by. But yeah, just a little bit overwhelming. And then I'll cap it off with my experience of I went over to look at French horns for my youngest son at the Con Selmer booth and stopped by the drum area and ran into Ricky Rocket of Poison, which was hilarious. I took a selfie with him, but the volume level on that other hall was
Insane.
like if you've never been to NAMM, it's the pro audio area is relatively, we'll call it civilized, and I joke about that, the drum area and the horn area. That's like a bad neighborhood. It's just so loud. Throngs of people, and it's like sensory overload. Have you been over there?
Well, yeah, I always go through there and check stuff out, and there's always fun stuff to see. But yeah, Guitarland can be a little bit like doodle-doodle. It's like, you know, Guitar Center. Yeah, exactly. And then the drum area. But I did kind of go through the horn area this morning too, when it was a little more peaceful, and you kept hearing these little solos. You know, they're just doing scales here and there. It's kind of cool. You know?
Well, I was looking at the French horns, and this guy behind me just starts blowing these super loud, high trumpet notes, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's a little shocking."
That would be jarring.
Yeah, it was a little rough.
So there was something near. Wait, are you done with that part?
Oh, I was going to just say that. Then I was like, I got to get back to pro audio. It's just back home.
It was
back
madness.
to
It was madness.
Did you click your heels?
No, I just had to walk 10,000 steps to get back.
So I always like going over by the synth area to see what's new. I didn't actually see. I don't know if they had modular synths. I kind of missed it, but they usually have like little boutique tables along the hallway there, you know, as you're coming and going. And I stopped by this one place. Oh shoot, I forgot the name of it. I have to look. But it was this. A couple of folks from Charlottesville, Virginia, and they were, I think that was it. And they were making like little. It was almost like the teen engineering kind of stuff, like little PCB cards that were a sandwich together, and it made a little synthesizer that looked like a cassette. and it was called the Synthet or something like that. And so, and you could just take your finger and kind of like a stylophone, you could just touch your finger on the top and it would play the notes, and it sounded super cool. Like I would 100% use that on a record. And then just a little rotary dial on the side that you could change the pitch of the tones and stuff like that. And then they had another one that was shaped like a banana. And both of these came with a little pile of alligator clips. And so you could clip the alligator clips onto these little contacts of the banana or the other one. And then laid out on the table in front of them was an entire 1-octave keyboard range of bananas. And another banana that was your volume banana. And so the clips went from the banana synth over to each individual banana, and all you had to do was put your hand on one banana, and then you touch the other ones, and you play your notes. And so you sit there and you do a banana solo.
But were these real bananas?
They were real bananas. You do a banana solo on real bananas, and it comes out sounding like a kick-ass synthesizer. So of course I tried to do an Instagram post called "I Played My Banana at NAMM 2025," and somehow I screwed it all up. But so only I got to really enjoy that one. But now you do too.
Yeah, I would agree with you on everything you guys said about the community thing with our shows, or Chris with your YouTube channel, which Lidge and I are, of course, are working on our YouTube channels and our podcast. But that is really, you forget, like you do I'm sure we put this stuff out and we have like, is anybody even going to listen or care? And then you come to NAMM and you meet these people who are like diehard fans, and you're like, oh my gosh, people do care. This is great.
Yeah, and getting feedback from fans of the channel, like you were saying, for the fan of the podcast, that is always something, especially when you get comments like, "Man, your videos have helped me so much," So I get that a lot during the week.
It's really humbling.
And this is like, wow, okay, so you always wonder if you're actually doing something good with your videos or your content, when you post. And we all have a bit of that imposter syndrome also going on, So when you get these comments and these people coming to you and saying, "Man, you've helped me a lot." Okay, so I say, okay, mission accomplished. Because that's the goal, Like we're putting out content. You guys are doing podcasting, and interviewing people. It's like at the end of the day, you want to help people out,
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to make a difference in someone's life, or process through music production and stuff. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree, and knowing that somebody's putting in that much time, and when somebody comes up to you and tells you they've listened to your podcast, they've almost caught up. That technically, what they're telling you is they started at the beginning and they've listened to every episode, and they're trying to catch up to the current episode so they can be in sync with you. And I did the same thing when I started listening to podcasts. I remember going and listening to Pat Flynn's podcast, and I heard one, it was great. I was like, I'm going back to episode 0. I'm just going to start there. But when somebody tells me that, I'm like, holy shit, you're talking about listening to like well over 1,000 hours of me and people talking.
I ran into a guy when we came back from when we went to the Apogee party in Santa Monica, and we got off the bus over by that hotel. We got off the bus, and this guy stopped me. He was on the bus as well, and he shook my hand. "Hey, Matt, I just wanted to say that, I really love your show, and I actually binged 5 episodes in a row on the plane ride here." And to me, I'm like, I don't think I could listen to me for more than half an episode. So here this guy's like listening to 5, and I was just,
and then he couldn't get enough, so he came up and said hi to you one more time.
on top of that,
Yeah. So it's a bizarre position to be in when people like put that much effort into listening to and watching what we do. Excuse me.
Yeah, so, it's just cool, and it's a reminder that that it works and that it matters and that it's worth doing. You know what I mean? And to your point too, it's like the imposter syndrome thing it's constantly there. It's constantly there, and by just simply doing things on repeat, making enough videos, making enough podcast episodes, that's the thing that helps you connect with people. I think people connect with that. I think they like parts of different things at different times. Sometimes they have good takeaways, but I think it's the familiarity of feeling like, okay, you get to know somebody. And so coming to NAMM and meeting the people that enjoy our podcasts or videos means we get to finally know them back, which is really cool.
Here's a question for you, and this, I don't know if you'll have the full answer or not, but, okay, we come here and we know a shit ton of people. And so it's like old home for us, and we thrive in this environment in many respects. However, for the newcomer who's never been to NAMM, that doesn't know anybody, what would you recommend? What would be your advice to them if they came to NAMM for the first time? They come in, it's like walking into, I don't know, it's like Alice in Wonderland in some respects. You walk in and you're like overwhelmed by what you see.
Like walking into a new high school, but you don't have any classes assigned.
Right, and maybe you don't have any friends either yet. And so it might feel a little awkward, excuse me, at first. My voice is getting shot here, but
why ever?
I don't know. Maybe because I talk too damn much. What would you tell them? Like how to navigate NAMM for a first timer who doesn't know
how to navigate NAMM?
How to navigate?
Yeah, so I think I'm riffing here. It's not like I've had to do it exactly that way, but I think you'd go into the calendar and you look and see. You download the app first.
Oh yeah, download the NAMM app,
and you see what the schedule is. You can look at the map, so you get a sense of where things are because it's really huge and it's overwhelming, and you feel very lost at first. Mm-hmm. And then I'd go to some things and see stuff, but the moment where you start feeling, well, you know what? It doesn't even matter what moment you're at. I think you just essentially at NAMM, one of the cool things about coming to a conference or any event for something you're into is you sort of instantly have permission to turn to anybody you're standing next to and just introduce yourself and say like, hey, how you doing? I'm so-and-so. What do you do? Why are you here? And then you just ask them about themselves, and you start meeting people, and it's really great, So that's a good way to start. And then if you don't even know what places to go to, like meetups or anything, again, I think you could also just go up to booths and all the booths where the gear is, they want to talk. They want you to come up and talk to them. But you could also just ask anybody like, hey, what else should I go check out? What else should I go see? Is there like a hangout or a meetup or anything?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say make sure you have a good pair of shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to walk a lot.
I noticed yours are off at this point.
Oh, they are. So, yeah, I would say, that would be my number one advice. Look also into all the educational little seminars, lectures and stuff. There's lots of good stuff. And I had a chance to go to maybe 2-3 of them this year. It was the first year I did so. And yeah, they're pretty nice. So there's a lot there. And since NAMM is so huge, I try to focus on, like if I'm on floor 1, the Pro Audio Hall, I tend to just like maximize the time I have on the first floor before jumping around to the second one, and try to avoid to go back and forth between floors, all day long, or else it's just gonna walk way too much for nothing and waste a lot of time. Especially if you want to maximize your time talking to people and meeting with companies and stuff like that.
Yeah. So. So one other thought is when it comes to meeting people and stuff like that, forget about thinking you can just like pop over. You can find out where somebody is or just pop over to go say hi. It's very difficult to connect with people through the ways that we're used to, like just you text message and an instant reply. That doesn't really happen quite like that when you're at NAMM. And like when you're like, oh, I'm over in the Pro Audio booth and let me just go over to this other booth across the way. You kind of have to think about mapping out your route a little bit if you want,
Especially if you meet someone you want to talk to, Sometimes like, oh, okay, I have to talk to this guy, so I'll be back later. It's like, no. Now is the time is now. If you have something to do, it's now, because chances are it's not going to come back,
And drinking lots of water.
Oh, yeah.
Because if anything, I've made the mistake in years past where your eating schedule, your hydration schedule gets completely sabotaged by your hyper-focused agenda of, I want to go to this booth and this booth and this booth. And then before you know it, you may have eaten breakfast, but before you know it, it's 3:30 and you never ate lunch. And you're like, why do I feel so crappy right now? So, having water on you at the very least, and maybe some snacks, because, you can buy stuff and some of it's, depending on your dietary needs, may meet those needs or it might not. But hydration, shoes. What about ear protection? Do you ever feel like, oh, I should wear earplugs?
I brought some earplugs. I didn't feel I needed them much in the pro audio hall, but the minute you go down to the hall A and B, where the drums are and all the instruments, first of all, there's so many more people in these halls. It's just crazy. It's loud. It's like a blend of drums, guitar solos, trumpets, and sound systems going off, bass bands, and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely bring earplugs.
It's weird. I would almost say that pro audio, for the most part, feels like a small town, whereas when you go over to Hall A and B, to where all the musical products are, that's like going down in the middle of I don't know, Hong Kong or New York at rush hour, and everybody's walking and there's a lot of sounds. And if you get any kind of sensory overload, earplugs might really help mitigate that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I still think pro audio is loud as shit when I'm there. I'm like, oh my god, it's killing me. But the at one point where I'm having lunch and I'm meeting with some guys, the guys from Sampley upstairs, and we were having a chat at a table, and one of the speaker companies that's right next to us, they just kept cranking up music. They would crank it, and you'd be like, you just stop talking. You're like, all right, I'm not going to compete with this, and then they'd turn it down again. And after they did that repeatedly, I was trying to explain to them, I'm like, NAMM, they do have volume police there. They got sound level police where they go around, they'll sneak around with the sound meter, and if you're too loud, they'll, dock you with a fee. They'll slap you on the wrist or whatever, right? But they were doing it so quickly, it occurred to me, I was like, oh, maybe there's a time limit. Maybe where it's you're allowed to crank it up, but only to the count of 5, and then you have to turn it back down again right away.
In short bursts, and I think I observed that because I was trying to do an interview with Michael and Eben Grace about the 701 and have them on camera, and I thought I found the perfect spot where I was like, oh, I think I'm in a sonic no man's land. I think we're safe. Little did I know that Alan Sides with his speaker company was just down the way, and I would look over and I'd see Alan crank it up for a little bit and then turn it down. But Michael and Evan were like, yeah, Alan's trying to sell his speakers, which is great. But they said he's been actually very respectful and just turning it up just for a little bit, just to give a taste of these speakers can get really loud, and then he turns it back down. So it's not like a constant bombardment.
Yeah. I was just remembering another thing that I got to see that was really cool. I went up to, I think it was the EV lounge, and I got to see an interview of Jimmy Jam. It was Paul apologies on the last name, but Paul was interviewing Jimmy Jam, and they were talking about the history of, Funky Town, Minneapolis, and Paul had actually got Jimmy Jam's gig in the time way back. So Jimmy Jam was in the band, but was also producing records, and they had been down, I can't remember if it was in Florida, or no, it was Atlanta. I think they were in Atlanta doing a session, and then there was some snowstorm, but it was really just like a dusting of snow or something, and they just shut all the airplanes down. They shut down the airports, and so therefore he couldn't get back in time to be there for the gig, and that was the end of it or whatever. And so Paul had gotten the gig, and then now many, many, many years later, they had reconnected. And so here they were doing this interview together, and they were total pals and totally hitting it off. And we got to hear this whole story from Jimmy Jam of his time producing records and also working with Prince and being in the time. And it was pretty awesome. It was all sort of new stuff for me that also felt very familiar,
Yeah, and sometimes it can be hard at NAMM to just, there's so much to see that you have to have patience to sit through and watch those things because they can be super impactful. So if you have any kind of, desire to like see lots of stuff, I think back to the scheduling thing and the NAMM app and, just prioritizing your time because otherwise the days go by so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, we got here Tuesday, here it's Saturday night, and we're leaving tomorrow. And it seems like it happens so damn fast in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. What else did we see? I mean, the Corn F audio was really cool. I loved the fact that they were that Chad Blake had hit 2 different of his units in there, and then Dan had is Dan or Don?
No, it's Dan.
Dan, right? Yeah,
from
Dan
Corn F.
had his unit in there, so you could choose which unit you wanted to hear the sound of, and they all sounded a little different. Oh. I like Chad TB2.
TB2. That was your favorite.
Pretty nice.
Was also a music hack with their new plugin Fuel.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What was that about?
You know Music Hack?
No.
Oh, the one behind the mastering plugin. Oh man, Master Plan. There you go.
Oh, okay.
And that's a great plugin. I made a video on this one when it came out a year and a half ago. It's a great plugin, and that is the follow up. It's called Fuel. I really enjoyed this plugin. I'm going to talk more about this one on my YouTube channel soon. But also something else that was nice this year is the first. There was a creative lounge for social media people like us, content creators. Like honestly, it was pretty cool. Me and Steve were walking around, Steve Durkins, and we wanted to check it out. So we went in. It was like just a place to work, even podcast studios that you could just go. You just you book it.
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
I forgot to tell you guys.
Thanks, Chris.
I kept trying to go out and work. I'd just go by the fountain and be like, all right, let's just edit this video on my phone. And then somebody would come up and interrupt me. And
it was like on the second level of Hall A and B in that area. So there's like little corridors with different rooms. And yeah, the one at the back was this one. And it was like several little studios. You can just book them in advance, record your stuff, bring your camera, your computer, whatever. There's some like 2 SM7s already set up. Like very nice, So I was just walking around seeing people, recording a podcast, and it was like another little studio. If you could have played with a band and stuff, with an e-drum and guitar amps and stuff. It was pretty cool.
we should have jammed.
We should have. So we didn't do anything, we just walked around. But next year, if this is still on, it's worth to maybe think about something to make and create, in this
Maybe
type
we
of
should go over there
environment.
and do, we could have done this over there, but, I actually like doing the hotel room kind of hang at this point. But
by the way, we haven't really mentioned why we might look a little sleepy at this moment. Have we?
because, what time is it?
No, but I mean, like we haven't explained to your audience why. Like it's at the end. It's like 11. It's like almost midnight on the very last night. We've been here for 5 days, 6 days, something like that. Straight.
Right, and we just came from
Saturday night, late Saturday night.
Late Saturday night, and I don't know if I mentioned this either. No, I didn't mention it. We do this thing at NAMM audience where Chris and I and Lidge and whoever of our friends are with us, we will put on these kind of like, what would you call them?
It's like a group meetup.
Group meetup, right. It's like all the people who are our fans or our friends or whatever, and some, check out all of us, and some are just, dedicated, Recording Studio Rockstars fans or Mixdown Online fans. And we meet at this bar, and this bar is like so not cool compared to the other bars. All the other bars are loud and there's bands, and it's if you're into that, it's exciting. But if you don't have the sensibility for that, this bar is just like you walk in and you think, should we go somewhere else? But that's what makes it really cool. And people we had a great crowd tonight. So we're coming to you like after yeah, we've had a few drinks, but actually I had a couple beers and then I started pounding water because I knew I had to get my flight tomorrow. Did you guys check in for your flights?
Oh, I need to do that now.
My flight's not for a couple more days.
Right, because you're going up to LA, right?
Yeah, I gotta go. I'm gonna go visit family and go visit friends, and then fly out of LAX. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on NAMM? Any other things you saw that you
Well, I mean,
forgot
this
to
is
tell me about?
well, a thing that was personally very exciting for me was going to the Make Believe Studios Metric Halo booth and seeing the launch of a plugin that I created with these guys, with Rick Carson over there and BJ from Metric Halo, in collaboration with Bill Simzik, who produced Hotel California. We created a plug-in version of the console that I had, which was a custom MCI board that had been in Criteria Studios in the 1970s and was in my studio as well. And before I modernized my studio and remodeled it and moved the old console out, I made a plug-in with these guys, and it was just so cool to see it there and very exciting for me. So it's called the MBSI, and it's basically a channel strip from the console.
Cool. Super cool plugin, and I'll put links to all the stuff that we're talking about in the show notes and the description on YouTube. But and I think the funny thing to me is when I first met you and I came to your studio and I saw the console and the tape machine, and I told you, I said, I just want to send you away like on a week or two trip so you can completely revamp your studio. And I was like, you got to get rid of that MCI console. And you were like, oh, I'll never get rid of it. But you finally kind of moved it out of there, and that action spawned. I'm not taking responsibility for it, but I just laughed because now there's a plugin made after it, and I was like, get rid of it. But you did.
But the plugin isn't messy.
Right, and it spawned the plugin
Yeah.
in the end, because otherwise, I don't know if the plugin would have gotten made had you not made the decision.
Hard to say.
Hard to say. Difficult to say.
It all I won't, it can be a long story, but I won't turn it into one. The plugin was sparked by the fact originally that Rick Carson met Michael Simzik. They became buddies out in Los Angeles, I think it was. And then he finds out that Michael is Bill Simzik's son. And then he connects with Bill Simzik, and Rick was wanting to create plugins. I think he'd already started at that point. And he said, Bill, if you could make a plugin, what would you want to do? And Bill said, I want to make a plugin. I want that console that we did Hotel California on that had that sound. And so then that gave Rick the reason to search for me. He knew about me, I think, but he found out how to contact me in Nashville, and we connected. And so that started the whole thing. So then I became the liaison to the console, and I had been living with it for 15 years. I mean, this is the same board that did Hotel California, the Bee Gees, Staying Alive.
I was going to say, wasn't
Fever.
Saturday Night Fever tied to that console?
Yeah, it was done on there as well. Margaritaville.
Jimmy
Buffett, We're an American Band, Grand Funk Railroad, Crosby, Stills, Nash was done on there. I Shot the Sheriff for Eric Clapton, just like an endless list.
Wow.
Average White Band, just so many records were done on this board.
Wow.
And so, anyway, I knew the board because I'd had it for 15 years in my studio, and I had restored it from when I got it. It had been restored previously. I mean, it's an old console. It was built in 1969.
Any other last thoughts, Chris? Before you check in for your flight?
Yeah, I can't wait to come back next year and be with you guys.
Do the solid.
Stay? Well, we got a good
do
room,
the
so
solid
just
again.
keep it.
We could
You want to just rent this room out for
We'll just stay.
for a full year?
for the full
We
year.
won't even be here.
You got a lot of video to edit, don't you, from this trip?
A bunch, yes. It's probably, all that footage is going to end up in the 10-minute video, Maybe 15. We'll see.
Well, cool, guys. Loved hanging out with you, as always. And thanks for getting together late at night here before we head back home and contribute to this episode.
It was awesome.
We did something like this, 4 or 5 years
we
ago?
did. Yeah.
Yes, we were.
We were drunk, though.
We've been
we were a
drinking. We were in
little
an
drunk.
We're just
Airbnb.
exhausted. You
Now
know?
we're just old and tired.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I
I'm
remember
hammered,
we
man.
came back to our Airbnb and we were a little drunk, and
Yes.
I'll have to figure out what episode that was. But anyways,
Yeah, you set up your little sound devices and gave us all headphones and had a special little headphone mixer on it and everything.
yeah,
I remember. Yeah,
I'm
right.
too old to carry all that crap now. So I had to go low key here.
Cool.
So
But I will say, for what it's worth, at that time, I was blown away by the fact that something could sound, what you brought, a setup could sound so good, and it was all powered by batteries.
right, but those were those little Marantz headphone boxes that might have been duplicates of another company's headphone box. I can't remember. I still have those. Those sound amazing. So I digress.
No excuses make great records.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thank you, dude. Peace out.
Get ready for bed.
Happy NAMM.
All right. Good night.